All of the views and opinions expressed here are those of the individual speaking and may not be representative of Konig American. At times, language may be considered vulgar. Listener discretion is suggested.
You are now listening to the Konig Behind the Wheel podcast.
Yeah, man, no problem. Yeah, yeah. Oh, really? That's pretty sweet.
I think I got the first question for you, Travis.
So,
What made you willing to be a part of this program, and like what did you know about Napoleon? Like obviously they have like a racing pedigree outside of drifting. Like did you know who they were, or like did you go meet them? Like how did it all come about?
so it was like, probably 2 months before Long Beach. I was prepping my S13 for Pro 2 again, just the normal off-season thrash and whatever. And I ended up getting a phone call, and it was the guys in Napoleon, and they kind of started telling me about what they wanted to do and the car, and kind of basically asked me if I was interested. And right off the bat, I was pretty stoked because I've always said it's really hard to be different in drifting nowadays. And I didn't really want to be the like 50th drift kid with an S chassis to come to Pro 1 and try to stand out, you know? Plus new technology and new developments always like interest me. And this was so outside the box that it was like a no-brainer, and I was instantly like on board. So I flew out about a week after the phone call, met all the guys, saw the car, met team, the owner, chat a little bit. Everything vibed really well, and the whole crew's super, super awesome. So then I jumped on a plane back home, and then we started planning.
Had,
hmm
had they started working on the car like before they talked to you, or was it like you guys put this thing together in like 50 days before Long Beach?
No, the car was already mostly together
Okay.
when they called me. They were planning. They had built the car, and they were planning for it no matter what. Like I want to say like October last year.
Mm.
They had already started prepping. Um, and then they had another driver in mind, but some things happened, and that driver had to step away from what I understand, just like some personal things, or he had some stuff going on in his life that didn't make it a good choice for him or something. I don't know the whole story, so I can't
Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah. No,
can't
no
really
worries.
talk on it. But yeah, so basically that decision was made, and then they're like, "Oh crap, we need a driver." So let's start shopping.
So how many laps or how much seat time do you actually have like inside the car at this point?
I have a decent amount. We've tested. we've tested quite a bit.
Okay.
It's the learning curve with this car though is just immense. So working out all the bugs is the name of the game with a new car, and this one's like a pretty drastic learning curve compared to just like switching to a new chassis. So I have hours in the car. It's just fine tuning and dialing the thing in. That's where the R&D comes in, and where it takes a little bit of time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, so it's really simple. The car, there's not much to it actually. It's Tesla-based drivetrain. So motor and stuff's in the back. The motor and inverter is attached to the differential, and then axle shafts come out. That's pretty much mounted in the subframe. And then you have your battery compartment up front where the motor and transmission would be normally. And we did it that way to kind of simulate a standard weight balance of a normal car. So got it as close to 50-50 as possible to where the balance of the chassis was proper and we weren't kind of stepping into something crazy right off the bat. And then just your standard consumer grade EV West electric vehicle control module. So that's where we can, that's your like drive neutral reverse selector and your amperage and voltage controls, and a couple little adjustments you can do on that screen. And then it also monitors voltages and things like that. And then, so there's only a throttle and brake pedal that's active, and the handbrake, obviously. And then the clutch pedal is basically just kind of like a dummy pedal for my foot to rest on. It's just kind of in there. Yeah, kind of. But it was just, we mounted the whole hang-in pedal assembly and everything in there, and we're like, we might as well just leave this in here while I take it out. So it hangs out. Yeah, there's been a couple of times where I grabbed the handbrake in the car and went to push the clutch in, and just as out of like reflex. But it's kind of good that it's there because the more I drive the car, if I can keep that reflex going, then it's not as drastic of a change jumping into a standard. Yeah. Hmm.
What do you think's going to be like now that you've had some time in your 240 in Formula D competing? You've kind of seen, right, the difference between Pro 2 and Pro, kind of like, the driving level, the speed of the event, which I think is another big thing. But like, what do you think, I guess for you, it's two questions. What's the difference between Pro 2 and Pro that you found I guess that caught you off guard the most? We'll make that the first one.
So Pro 2 and Pro 1 difference for me, the biggest thing was even being only two events in, like the amount of events I already know is going to be pretty crazy, going from 4 to 8. And then on top of that, you have more involvement as a Pro 1 driver. So there's a lot more on your schedule throughout the weekend. You have extra practice on Thursdays, you have autograph sessions, you have, we have our own media program, so I set aside time to do our recaps and video, things like that. And then the level of the cars themselves is a pretty big jump. So just the speed and the grip and the consistency of the guys in that class is on another level from Pro 2, because those guys have been doing it for so long that it's nice for me because I can trust everyone that I'm driving with, and that's like super awesome. So I can the more I drive with people in Pro 1, the more I feel like I can progress and progress quicker because everyone is so experienced and so good in the class that it helps me a lot.
That's cool. What do you think will be the hardest part about, like, when you actually get to start tandeming with the Camaro? Like, obviously you were talking about some of the differences, the transmission, the lack of clutch. Like, what do you think is going to be maybe the struggle or the most complicated part of competing in that car?
There's two things that come to mind for me. One is throttle modulation with the electric car. Since the torque curve is so crazy, it's a big learning curve for me to be able to modulate smoothly and consistently in that car. I'm getting the hang of it though. It's not super far off. It's just that's been one of the big things to learn. And then the other one is just developing the car to carry the speed, tinkering with suspension and setup and all that kind of stuff to be on pace. We know the car can do it. It's just getting it there. We're well on our way. We just haven't dialed in everything yet. Yeah, so it's not as aggressive as some people would think. There is a good amount of throw in the throttle to be able to modulate, but once you get to a certain point, it ramps up pretty quick. So there is that fine line to run. But yeah, it's pretty wild in the sense that as soon as you get to that point, you have all the torque in the world.
Now,
we can't graph or tune that just yet. Yeah, so all our stuff is super basic and super simple and kind of easy to work. We didn't want to overcomplicate the car at first. We wanted to set our baseline and get comfortable with maintaining the car and just the basics with it. We didn't want to jump in and go crazy and try to develop this super complicated and over the top EV. So we kept it really basic for that reason. So people think that we can change all this crazy like traction control and all this other stuff that I'm sure you could do with electric cars. We can't do that. And we did that for a number of reasons.
Now, when I watched the donut video, which I assume a lot of people did, I think they were promoting the car had 515 horsepower, like 800 foot-pounds of torque. That obviously sounds very small, I guess, compared to some guys. Like Vaughn was on the Smoking Tire podcast last week talking about how their new motors are doing 1,200 horsepower. Is that 500 horsepower, that 800 foot-pounds of torque in the electric car, is it a true equivalent, or is there like when people talk about horsepower numbers, they're all kind of the same with cars, but like I don't really understand or know how electric cars on a dyno would work or anything. Do you feel like it really represents like way more power than that, or is that about an accurate representation?
So we haven't dynoed the car.
Okay.
We were going based on our battery specs and what we're running it through the motor. So the thing, based on our calculations, it is about 500 horsepower, but it's kind of hard to compare because the torque number is so great. So it definitely makes that 800 foot-pounds, I'm sure, just by feeling it. That's just kind of like due to our calculations and the motor type and how the program runs it and how much battery we have.
If you guys put it on the dyno, you definitely need to make a video of that.
I know. So I've watched a couple dyno videos of people dynoing Teslas, and most of the time it takes a lot of tweaking with the dyno for it to read it properly. Yeah. So I was watching a video the other day. Someone put like a P100D Model S on the dyno, the all-wheel drive ludicrous mode one, and just turned it all the way up, and the thing read like 10,000 foot-pounds of torque or something crazy, and the dyno like freaked out because it couldn't like properly map it.
Right.
So we're definitely trying to do that as soon as possible, though.
Right.
But the thing is fast. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we could go buy a super crazy battery pack and pump a ton of amperage into this thing. I'm sure it'd do a lot more. We just kind of wanted to be in the ballpark of the standard to just make the car competitive. You know, we're trying to the last thing we want to do is come out with a car that we built to the nine and tried to get all crazy before we knew a baseline about it, and then run into more issues than we needed. So it's kind of just like a keep it simple, stupid scenario, you know?